So I honestly think that most people overthink money quite dramatically. Instead of thinking of things, how can it be useful for me and how can make it simplify my life? So I always try to think about that, right? Like, how can I simplify my life, make it easier? Instead, people often go towards how can I get the cheapest, or how can I how can I get the best deal, whatever that particular best deal is, given with what they're doing, or how can I have the most luxurious thing, right? Like, I think if we think about things in aggregate, it's pretty simple, right? If we just break things down, we just need what? Food, transportation, what is it? Food, transportation, shelter, and water, right? Like, if we just had the basic utilities, um, and then, basic, some sort of basic shelter, some basic food, um, and some sort of basic transportation. You have those sort of basic things, really simple. That's all you really need. And everything above that is sort of surplus value, or, just making you feel good that there's something actually that's there, right? If you think about the basics, you're just like, this is all I need, right? And you're just like, whatever. If I don't get this thing, it doesn't matter. Ultimately, it often does not matter, right? I think when we get very passionate about something, some sort of possession, other than, I could see being very passionate about, um, your friends and family, and sort of protecting them. I get that, right? But other than that, right, other than relationships, everything else is just a darn possession. Like, who cares ultimately, right? And if you have that sort of mentality that you just need these sort of basic things to survive, the rest of it is, yeah, you know what? I could deal with not having this thing. Like, I don't need a car. I'm okay with that. We'll figure it out. Um, if you get that feeling in your head where you're just like, I don't need anything to make me happy. Nothing here is going to, you know, disappear in my life. I'm not gonna die. Then you're totally fine, right? Like, you can get away with so much, and everything is just a luxury on top of it. So there's that, right? Then the other thing is, I think people completely over, they just go way too crazy with investing, like overthinking things. And ultimately, the best scenario is for you just to invest broadly within everything, right? Like, within everything, within the entire economy. And there is a lot of stuff. The simplest thing to do is just invest. Now, why do you want to invest in everything? Well, because something might actually disappear, and something does disappear, right? Like, it's kind of really dumb to invest in single stocks. Um, Really, really dumb, right? To invest in, say, just Walmart, or just say, hey, I'm just going to pick this stock and I'm going to invest in it. Dumb, dumb, dumb. I never do that. And I think anybody that has long term, that have done well over the years, they don't do that either, right? It's kind of dumb. So it's just thinking about how you can spread out and invest broadly and bet on the economy. If you start thinking about how do I bet on the economy, or bet on this really long, long, long run trend that might happen, um, you have to put your money very, very broadly to get those particular results. And sure enough, it actually pans out if you actually do that, right? Um, and how much should you invest? 10 to 20% of everything that you ever invest, right? Or that you ever make. Very, very simply. That's it, right? And you do that. Oh, then the other thing is just having insurance. Catastrophic things happen in your life where, something really bad happens. What is it that you need in terms of insurance? Just basic stuff for the basic kind of things that happen. We overthink all of these different elements, right? And they're intentionally made to confuse people. All of these different things. Why? Because businesses are smart, and They want you to really, really want stuff so that you become passionate about it. They teach that stuff. And then B, um, so that you just don't know what is a good deal and what's not a good deal. If you start imagining things as like, hey, this is just a basic thing. This is all I need. Everything else is kind of luxurious after that, you often make very good financial decisions when you do that. And you do see a lot of people sort of practicing that. A lot of people don't, right? Like I would say the vast majority of people don't. But you're just like, yeah, whatever. This is okay. Everything else is just a luxury. You end up like not needing anything. So I'm gonna admit I do drive around in a Tesla. And but when we were making that decision, I had a 2011 Mazda CX-7 that I drove around in for 11, 12 years. I had a broken window, two broken windows that weren't sort of functioning at all, and it was fine, right? Like it was eventually my wife just made me like buy a new car, and then I was like, I don't really need anything that's fancy in any sort of way, right? I was looking at the other thing was just like another Honda CRV. Um, I was just like fine with that, but then my wife sort of convinced me that it's really for us in our family, because we're very fiscally, we save a ton. She was like, well, it's really not going to make a difference either way if we take a big loss on this car. um, and with that, it was the right choice for us at the time. I very much enjoy this car, but if something was to happen and we got rid of this thing, oh well, I would probably be like, oh, I miss it for a couple days, but I get used to it and then I'll move on. And I think like having that attitude where you're just like, whatever, this is not a big deal. You end up doing well in the long run.